All right, why don't we get started, and I'll let people in as they come in. So thank you everybody for joining me on this workshop. I hope this will be very informative for you. I think what used to happen when your parents applied for Social Security, they didn't think much about it. When they turned 65 or when they stopped working, they just went to the Social Security Administration and they applied for the benefits. But what happens now is boomers are much more thoughtful about their benefits, and they want to know more about the system and how to maximize the benefits. And that's what I'm hoping that we can do, is gain a lot of information. So why am I running this workshop? First and foremost is because if you don't know enough about the system and the benefits, you could be hurting your retirement by making terrible and costly decisions about Social Security that could cost you tens of thousands of dollars in benefits. And if you were to ask why, as a financial planner, I am running a Social Security workshop, for several reasons. First is because there is a lot to know about Social Security and there isn't enough information. Secondly, because again, you could be making the wrong decision and not getting the most out of the system and the benefits that you may be entitled to. And third, frankly, it makes my job a lot easier when people have made the right decisions. And when I go through the retirement planning and want to maximize my client's retirement income, having a good strategy for Social Security is very helpful. And that's why I'm running this workshop. So we'll be covering a lot of ground today, and I don't expect you to remember everything. So I do have an excellent guide to Social Security. And as a thank you for coming in and filling out the evaluation form, I will send you the handout. Another important thing I want to mention is, again, the information that you will receive will be very general. There will be just guidelines, but everybody's situation is very different. So unless you look at what is relevant to you and how to maximize your own benefits, you still could be missing out on important benefits. So if you're working with me as a client, we do this as part of our planning process. If not, I'm happy to sit down with you and do an analysis and a scenario and come up with a very comprehensive report that I will share a little more information in the workshop as well. Okay, so there are many things to know about Social Security, right? Because you have a lot of claiming options, but there are literally tens of thousands of options available to people. And Social Security Administration can give you information, but they're not going to give you customized planning scenarios. And one thing to remember, the way that Social Security Administration approaches these decisions is, if you made a mistake, even if they told you to do something that wasn't right, it's a done deal. You cannot, in most situations, you won't be able to go and reverse it. So it's important to be thoughtful ahead of time. If you're part of a couple, choice impacts both spouses, and the survivor benefits are super important to know about. There's a lot of conversations about the system being bankrupt. It's not, and we'll go in a second into the details about it. And even though you have family and friends who have claimed benefits and they may be giving you advice, your friends are most likely not experts and they may not know your own situation. So this is basically what we will be covering today. First of all, will Social Security be there for you guys? How much can you expect to receive? And when should you apply for Social Security, and how to maximize your benefits? Whether Social Security be enough to live on in the first place. So let's look understanding the value of Social Security, because again, most people think that the Social Security is just if it's there for them, it will be a fractional portion of their income, but that may not be the case. If you're thinking, will Social Security be there for you? The answer is yes. Because so the way Social Security works, it's a pay-as-you-go system. So the current workers pay for current retirees. And since baby boomers are in their prime earning age, the trust fund has accumulated about $2.9 trillion. Even though there are issues, and we'll go through them in a second, the bottom line for you is your benefits will be there. So you should count on Social Security as sort of the foundation of your retirement planning. So according to the current projections, benefits will fall to 78% in 2034 if nothing is done to reform Social Security. There are some proposals on the table about reforms. And these are sort of the ones that are the most important, have come to the table. First is increasing the earnings are subject to Social Security tax, which right now is about $147,000. Then raising the normal retirement age. So the retirement age has been rising. And if you were born in 1960 or later, your retirement age is 67. So there are proposals to increase that even further. Then another proposal is to lower the benefits for future retirees so that the benefits don't rise as fast as they have been. Another one is to reduce the cost of living adjustments, which is basically the inflation adjustments that the administration is making to your income. And all of these adjustments will have an impact. But right now, nothing has been done because I think Social Security is such a hot topic. And I think politicians are probably just afraid to touch it too. So somebody needs to have courageous enough to tackle this issue. But so far, it hasn't been done, which as a bottom line for everybody here is your benefits are not likely to be affected by Social Security reform. So that's why we're doing this workshop and thinking about it to make sure that we're making the right decisions. So what is a better way and a more clear way to think about Social Security? The first thing I want to mention is Social Security is inflation protected income that you cannot outlive. And that's a very important point because a lot of us have money in the stock markets and capital markets, and we're thinking about returns volatility, your money going up and down. Well, Social Security is not going to go down. Once you get your benefit, you get your benefit. And you've paid your premium in every paycheck, so you should be smart about it and to get the most of what you're entitled to. Right. So again, Social Security, it offers income that you can't outlive, and it adds up. It adds up pretty quickly. So for example, if your monthly benefit is $2,000, and you can see from this table, if you live 10 more years, you will get $276,000. And if you receive Social Security for 30 more years, you may potentially receive over $1 million in benefits. And this table assumes about 2% inflation, which I have to say, this is the long-term average. And there is a table that you can go to the Social Security website and look through history. What I want to say is the system is flexible. So for example, this year, the inflation adjustment is about 5.9% because the government realizes that the inflation has been rising pretty rapidly. Even at 2%, you can see that the benefits add up pretty quickly. So if your monthly benefit starts at $2,000 and you have 2% adjustments, in 10 years, you will be getting $2,438 a month. And in 30 years, you will get $3,623 a month. So one thing I want to mention is if I'm going too quickly and you have any questions at any point, please stop me and ask the questions or put them in the chat. I'm happy to take a step back and answer any questions that you might have. So then how much can I expect to receive, right? It's a pretty simple question. Your benefits will largely depend on two things: how much you've earned over your working career and the age at which you apply for benefits. I wanted to do so. I don't want to take. There's a lot of technical detail to this, so I don't want to dive too deeply into this. But I find it's very helpful to have a general understanding of how your benefits are calculated in the first place. So at age 62, what happens is the Social Administration looks at your earnings for the previous for your entire career that it has on record. Then what they do is take the 35 years of earnings, your highest 35 years of earnings. And then what they do, they index them for inflation. They basically bring them up to the present with inflation through the years. Then what they do is they come up with a big number, they divide it by 35, and that's what the benefit that you're entitled to. And then what they do is apply certain bend points to every one of these to the amount. And then once they apply the bend points, then they start adding the inflation adjustments to it. So I think it will be helpful if we look at an example. So, for example, if you're a baby boomer, you were born in 1960 and you turn 62 this year, and you've been paying maximum Social Security earnings into the system since age 22, this total amount comes to, these are your average index monthly earnings. They come up to $11,430. So this is the base from which your benefits are calculated. So then what the administration will do is they will take the first $1,240 and you'll get 90% of that. Then you'll get 32% of the next $5,148, and then you'll get 15% of anything over that. So once they add these sums together, your primary insurance amount is about $3,400 a month. This is what you will receive at your full retirement age, which is important to know, as we'll see in a minute. I guess any questions here?
I have a question, Rosanna. So sure. One thing I had heard is there's a maximum. So if your numbers, the formulas they apply, all the formulas and everything, and your number comes up over the maximum, you still only get the maximum monthly benefit. Is that correct?
I don't think so. I haven't heard that. And so the maximum is, maybe they're referring to how the credits that you can get. At age 70, your credits stop. That sounds to me like that could be what that means by maximum. So here, if you look at your earnings, right? So for the years that you didn't earn anything, the Social Security will put in zero. So if you had kids and had to step away from workforce or didn't work out for the full 35 years, then your Social Security will be reduced. But if you continue working, they'll add to your benefit. It will have a lower impact the later years, but it will still make a difference. So if you may be asking, well, it's good to know, but then why shouldn't I claim it at age 62 instead of delaying to the full retirement age of 70? And when I speak to people, I hear a lot about the break-even age and you should really take it early. But what I have to say is that Social Security is very fair in how they've come up with their payments. So the break-even age is typically around between 76 and 78. So after that, you're way better off delaying your benefits. And now with our rising life expectancy, when I'm planning for my clients to live until 800, it's really beneficial not to think short term in terms of claiming early. And another important point is when you're thinking, we'll stress this many times throughout this workshop, it's important to maximize benefits for spouses and survivors as well. So again, if you claim early, your benefits will be reduced and they will not go back up. We'll look at it in a second, and you've probably seen this. There is there is an amount that you will get at age 62, 67, 66 or 67, which is your full retirement age, and then age 70. So if you claim early, your benefit won't go back up at your full retirement age.
Can I ask a question? So Rosanna, if you start to take your benefits at 62, but you're continuing to earn income, does that not, doesn't that still go into the pot, so to speak?
Yes, so we'll address that in a minute. The short answer is it still goes into the pot and you will get it later. But we'll go into the sort of the taxation and the earnings test in a minute. The other thing that I want to mention is, this is an aside actually, but I think it's an important one. Your Medicare Part B premiums are deducted from your Social Security, and so are your taxes. Here, what I want to do for a second is stop this presentation and share something with you that I've also been looking into. A lot of people don't realize the cost of Medicare, right? So it's a government program and it covers some of your hospital stays and things like that. But Part B and Part D, which is the sort of the doctor's visits and things like that, the premium for this year is $170, but there is an earnings test. So say you're retired, you have a substantial retirement portfolio and you get distributions, that adds to your income, or you have rental income or whatnot. So there are thresholds, income-based thresholds, so that potentially, if you're a really high earner, your premium could be up to $655 a month. This sort of speaks to the need to plan carefully for everything and have a comprehensive retirement plan. And Medicare is another topic that I am considering doing a workshop a couple of months down the road. But this is something that I wanted you guys to be aware of. So I'm going to go back to the other presentation. So when should you be applying for benefits? There are several factors to consider when to apply, and this is where the customized scenario planning comes in, and this is what I help my clients with. So first of all, it depends on your health status and life expectancy. If you expect to live longer, then you should be thinking about claiming later. Your need for income, what are your resources? Whether or not you plan to work, as we just mentioned, and what is your situation in terms of who else do you have in your family who may need this income? So will Social Security be enough to live on in retirement? You probably know these answers, but it's pretty obvious probably not. The Social Security provides about 40% of a typical retiree's needs. But again, I think it's if you're looking at your retirement income as a puzzle consisting of several pieces, this is sort of the foundational piece. We start with, okay, how much will you be getting in Social Security? Then we will be adding the other sources to it to see how will you be living and covering your expenses and your lifestyle in retirement. Let's talk about the full retirement age. Full retirement age has been rising. We all work longer, we're healthier, and we also live longer. So if you were born between 1943 and 1954, your full retirement age is 66. And then it gradually goes up by 2 months at a time until when if you were born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. What if you apply for early benefits? So here, this is the kicker, right? So if you apply at 62 when you first entitled to, there is this actuarial reduction that I mentioned earlier. They realize that you will be getting more paychecks, so the Social Security Administration will reduce the paychecks. So if your full retirement age is 67 and you apply at 62, you are only getting 70% of your potential benefits. And then they gradually rise until at 67, you'll get 100% of. And then, but on the other hand, what happens if you apply after your full retirement age? Every year that you don't apply, you get 8% more. Between 66 and 70 years old, and you get what they call delayed credits. So you will get 132% of your primary insurance amount if you wait until 70. There is no delayed credits after age 70, so it doesn't make sense to wait beyond that age. But there is a ton of benefits to delaying to age 70. On top of that, the inflation adjustments do add up quite a bit. So if you can see that benefits without social adjustments, if you look at age 70, would be $3,720. But with even at 2% inflation, your benefits would be at $4,359 with the inflation adjustments. Again, one thing I want to mention is if you go to the Social Security website and you look at your estimates, those estimates do not include inflation adjustments, so they're in current dollars. My scenario planning does take into account inflation, so you have when we run to the scenarios, you have a better understanding of what your real amount is going to be, assuming some inflation. So if I go back to these estimating Social Security benefits, right? So you want to have a baseline of what your benefit is. And looking at the calculation they're making, I'm assuming you don't want to go through the same calculation. So what you want to do is go to socialsecurity.gov and create your own account. And once you create your own account, they will tell you with very high degree of accuracy what your benefits are going to be at 62 and your full retirement age at 70. They do also have a couple of retirement estimators that you can also check out, and also the benefit calculators. But again, these are pretty generic and they don't take account your entire financial picture. One thing I do want to mention about, so what happens is if you're employed, your employers report your earnings every year to Social Security, and that's how they keep track. But if you're self-employed, as most everybody here in this workshop is, they have to rely on your tax returns. So it's better to check to make sure that the administration has an accurate record for you.
Rosanna, one thing that hasn't been touched on is you could go to these sites and get your personal account information, but what if you're divorced and you're planning on using your spouse's benefit?
Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a second. But the short answer is, if you've been divorced for more than 2 years, you don't need the estimate. You just need enough of identifying information for your former spouse or Social Security to be able to look him up. But we'll go through this sort of the divorce benefits a little later in this in the presentation. So I want to go back to the delaying. So why delay benefits? Again, this is a key point. If you do start claiming at 70, your benefits will start at $4,359. But by the time you're age 100, your benefits with inflation will be up to almost $8,000. Beyond 70, when you're thinking about long-term care and needs for assisted living and whatnot, it's good to have this kind of income. So then the question is, well, how do I maximize my benefits? The first thing is again, as I mentioned, is improving your earnings record. Yeah, right. So please go open up this account and check out your earnings to make sure that everything is recorded correctly. Are there any missing years? Is there any inaccuracies in the reports? And then also, again, since we're all here in this workshop, everybody is working and probably is planning on working for a number of years. If you know what your situation is like, whether it's 30 years of good earnings, 35, you can plan for your working years a little more thoughtfully and say, okay, I need to work 3 years, more years, whatever it is, to make sure that you maximize your working record. How do you decide when is the optimal time for Social Security? Again, it depends on your income needs, both now and in the future, your life expectancy and your spouse's life expectancy. And when you take these three things into consideration, you can come up with sort of the optimal claiming time for your Social Security benefits. So here I want to touch on this issue that you raised, Nancy. So taxation of benefits, right? What happens if you work, and how are the Social Security benefits taxed in the first place? So if you apply for Social Security benefits before your full retirement age, and if you're still working, for every dollar that you earn, your benefit will be reduced by $2 if you earn over $19,000, or basically this threshold of about $20,000. But this money isn't lost per se. The Social Security Administration will record this and make note of it, so to speak. Then your benefit will be adjusted when you do stop working, and you will get this credit back as if you had applied later. So that's why don't let this earnings test, as they call it, sort of discourage you from working and improving your work record, but also adding to your retirement portfolio.
Can I ask a question, Rosanna?
Sure.
I understood that if you continue to work, they recalibrate every October and April to realign. Is that right? To realign your earnings? Is that right?
That detail I'm not so sure about, but why don't I take that as a question for me and I can get back to you. So, okay.
So basically, if you start to collect, this was my understanding, and little knowledge is not so good, but yeah. I understood that if you did collect, but you did continue to work, and so you had some higher earning years to come into that basket, as you say, that they recalibrate every October and April. So I guess that is for people who file on time or people who file extensions in October. So that was my understanding. And that's, yeah.
Yeah, I'll check on this for sure. I have to say that Social Security has so many rules. There is just the general rules, and there are the technical details.
Sure.
So that they make a difference. And yes, I will look into it and get back to you. Yeah.
So I guess if that is accurate, then I was understanding it to mean that once you start collecting, your monthly could increase over time, because if your earnings do increase, to knock out some lower earning years. Does that make any sense? They calculate on 35 years, you said? Yeah.
Yeah, they calculate it on 35 years. Yeah, if you have higher earnings years, like right now, they will definitely be added to your record. And your benefits will go up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess where I got confused was maybe hearing you say that once you collect, it's set there. It doesn't change. Did I misunderstand you saying that?
So what you're entitled to is, so it depends, right? So if you start collecting at 62, it will be just that the adjustments will be off of a lower base. It just doesn't go all the way back up. Yeah.
Thank you.
Rosanna, I have another quick question. Sorry. If let's just say you start to collect at your full, at your retirement age, and 67, and you get an inheritance or whatever, and you're like, wow, I don't want to take these now. I want to save them. Can you pause getting your benefits?
Yeah, you can suspend. You can suspend your benefits. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So it might be a question for a private consult, but to tag on to what Nance just asked, again, friends think that they're experts, but they say maybe you continue to collect the Social Security and invest that because your return may be better than pausing. Do you have any thoughts on that, Rosanna?
Yes, I've heard a lot about that, and I do have some return calculators that go into that. Okay, if instead of taking your benefit, you delay it and then reinvest that money, what is sort of the break even and what is the picture in general? But overall, I would say you have this guaranteed benefit versus the volatility of the markets. So again, like you said, everybody's situation is different. So you really need to see whether it's worth it. What is it going to do to your retirement income, and what are your investment opportunities in the first place? Yeah, I would say that's there are some factors to consider for that. Yeah.
Rosanna, I could be wrong on this too, but I understood that if you suspended or stopped your payments once you started receiving, that you have to pay back in entirety everything that you've received up to that point of suspension. That's what I thought.
No, so suspension and paying back is a strategy, I think, if you want to get your delayed credits.
I see.
Right. If you say, okay, you know what, I made a mistake and I want to suspend and I want to reset. I think you're able to pay them back. Yeah. And sort of, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that you had to pay them back if you suspended. I thought that was a requirement, that you had to pay back everything that you had collected up to that point. But maybe I don't have that.
That's not my understanding, but maybe that's something also I can confirm.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Right, so let's go into the actual taxation of benefits. Depending on how much you earn and your filing situation and your income, so your Social Security benefits are subject to taxes. So in order to calculate your taxes, Social Security looks at your provisional income, which is your adjusted gross income plus 1/2 of your Social Security benefit plus your tax-exempt interest from your investment. And if that income is under $32,000, then the amount of Social Security subject to tax is zero. But as your income grows, up to 85% of your taxes up to 85% of your benefit could be subject to tax. And again, if you're married filing jointly, that's a different threshold versus if you're single or head of household, or if you're married and filing separately. So nobody, I don't know if anybody likes paying taxes. So how do we minimize the taxes on Social Security benefits? So here again, it's important to look at your entire picture, right, in retirement. Because as you come to age 72, if you have retirement plans and IRAs, you need to start drawing down on them and take required minimum distributions. So that could increase your tax. So the better way to think about these taxes is start planning way earlier at 72 and maybe start withdrawing some of the funds from your IRA if that's beneficial to your situation. Basically reducing income from tax-advantaged investments. Another strategy would be to convert your traditional IRA to Roth IRA, because Roth IRA is tax-free. So basically what you do, you pay those taxes in advance, and then your income in your later years is tax-free. Delaying Social Security, reducing the number of years that the benefits are subject to tax. But again, this depends on your needs, right? Do you need Social Security now, or can you wait to collect? And then I think that the last 2 points overall is just you pay down your debt and you adopt a simpler lifestyle, then the tax burden is not as, I guess your overall situation is better, so the tax burden isn't as tough to bear. And then it's also important to continue managing taxes through retirement. As you can see, there are several factors. It's not like you can set it and forget it. That's why we review the planning and the situation every year to make sure that you're staying on top of your finances. Yeah, again, Medicare can shrink your check as we just saw. In 2022, the Part B premium is about $170, but again, everybody, it's just with like everything in finances, your own personal situation is very different. It's important to look at your personal scenario as well. When to apply for Social Security? Again, as we said, if you apply early, your benefits start early and they stay lower. So again, the inflation adjustments magnify the effect of everything you do. If you apply earlier, you're getting earlier, and you don't get the maximum inflation adjustments, which, as you saw in an earlier slide, is quite a bit of addition to your benefit. Again, your benefits may be taxed, and again, don't let this earnings test discourage you from working and continuing to build up your capital. And then it's also really important to think about your surviving spouse, and thinking about leaving more income to the person who's going to be living longer. So I guess this list, well, if I'm not going to live long, so why shouldn't I just claim my benefit when I can? And the simple answer is for couples, you should always maximize the higher earner's benefit to protect the surviving spouse. So as you guys know, Social Security was created in a different sort of age and an era where men worked and women stayed home, and women's incomes were lower. I think that's changing. Just to be clear, Social Security is gender neutral. When we say surviving spouse and higher and lower earnings, it can go both ways. It's always important to maximize the benefits for spouses. And throughout this presentation, we're assuming, because it's statistically still accurate, that the wife will be the lower earner for these examples that we're going to go through. So we're going to touch on spousal benefits, then we're going to touch on survivor benefits, and also divorce benefits. So the spousal benefits is 1/2 of the primary worker's benefit if you started at full retirement age. So, for example, if John's primary insurance amount is $2,000 and Jane's primary insurance amount $800, if she applies for spousal benefits at her full retirement age, her benefit will be the $1,000 and not $800. So it will be the higher amount that she is entitled to by $200 a month. And what are the rules for spousal benefits? So the primary worker must have filed for benefits. This is a change that occurred, I think, in 2015. It was possible before for one spouse to claim and then delay, and the other spouse to collect from that spousal benefit. I think that's being phased out. If there is a potential that you grandfathered in, we can discuss that. But I think that's a loophole that was closed. So spouse must be at least 62 for for the reduced benefit or full retirement age for the full benefit, this is important to remember. There are no delayed credits on spousal benefits after full retirement age. So if you're collecting spousal benefit, it's just half of what the person would be collecting at full retirement age. But the survivor benefits are different, which we can talk in a minute. Again, coordinating spousal benefits is super important, because you're planning for two people, and if one spouse takes their retirement benefit too early, then exposing the other spouse to lower income down the road. So when you look at sort of how do you maximize the strategies, it depends on two things. It's if you look at two earners and you see, if you look at one spouse and say, is their benefit more or less than 50% of the other's benefit? If both are high earners, it makes sense for both of them to wait until age 70 and collect their own benefit, and keep getting their own benefit. And then the hybrid strategy, again, I'm going to touch on this quickly because I think there's a lot of information. I just want you guys to be aware, and then we can sit down and go over this in a little slower, at a little slower pace. So if what you're entitled to is less than 50% of higher earning spouse, then what you want to do is there is a hybrid strategy that you can follow. You can lower earning spouse claims early, and then the higher earning spouse delays until as much as they can, and they start claiming later. And that way the surviving spouse will get the full amount, the maximum amount that they can for the rest of their lives. So here I want to pause and say, so this custom maximization analysis is a great tool that I have available to me. Basically, what happens is I sit down with you, we take your information, your age, your benefit, your situation, and then the software goes through calculations and analysis, and it comes up with the best scenario for you, like what would be a claiming scenario that will maximize your benefits. And it goes into detail around how much you will get, your cumulative benefits, your break-even age, everything that you need to know to take this information and make it part of your overall retirement plan. So this is the part, well, if you're widowed or divorced, how will that affect your Social Security claiming strategies? If you're widowed or divorced, you may be eligible for survivor benefits, divorce survivor benefits, or divorce spouse benefits, and they'll increase your monthly check. So the survivor benefits will depend on two factors: the age at which your deceased spouse originally claimed the benefits, and if they claim them before full retirement age, the survivor benefits will be limited to some amount that's less than the full retirement amount. And if the deceased claimed after FRA, the survivor benefit will include the credits. And also the second factor, so the first factor is the deceased spouse. The second factor is your own claiming age. If you as a survivor claim before the full retirement age, then again, your benefit will be reduced. But if you claim at FRA or later, then the survivor benefits will include all the credits that you're entitled to. So what happens here? Basically, say that it's a couple and you're both getting Social Security, right? And then one person passes away, and then the survivor has a choice either to continue on their own benefits, or receive the survivor benefits. But again, if you start receiving the survivor benefits, basically one of your paychecks goes away, right? And according to statistics, people, like the surviving person, needs about 2/3 of the income. So it is quite a bit of a hit to your finances if you don't plan for it carefully. Again, here this just goes to a couple of examples, basically showing the benefit of delaying until age 70. Because if you delayed until 70, you're getting 124% of your full insurance amount, and your survivor gets this amount versus the lower amount. Basically, you can start claiming when you're at least age 60 or 50, you're disabled. But again, as any situation, the longer you wait, the better off you'll be. And if you're divorced, divorce spouse survivor benefits, your marriage must have lasted at least 10 years for you to collect the benefits. So divorce spouse benefits, I know we touched upon them a little earlier. So here are the rules. The marriage must have lasted 10 years or more. Person receiving divorce spouse benefits is currently unmarried. The ex-spouse is at least 62 years old. And if the divorce was more than 2 years, 2 years in the past, spouse does not need to have filed for benefits. Here, I think this is probably very important if you're being divorced and you want to claim divorce spouse benefits. Basically, more than one ex-spouse can receive benefits on the same worker's record. So if you were married and you were divorced and you're thinking how that will affect your benefits, you can collect on your ex-spouse's benefits, and he could have been married multiple times, and as long as marriage lasted 10 years, every ex-spouse is entitled to those benefits and your benefit will not be affected. Divorce spouse benefits stop if you remarry, but you're still entitled to them if you get divorced. And if you remarry, then you're entitled to your current spouse's benefits, spousal benefits or survivor benefits as well. Well, this is, as you can see, there's a lot of information, and it gets pretty complicated. So I guess there's a little brain teaser. I want to give us a break from all of this information, right? So in life, would you rather be early or delayed, or pay a penalty or get a bonus? So when it comes to Social Security, there's a little bit of a difference. If you're thinking about sort of psychology, delayed, it always has a negative connotation, but not in the case of Social Security here. If you delay, then you get a bonus, then you get your delayed credits. I guess this is sort of we'll go back to the summary of what we discussed, why we're doing this. And I think I hope that after this workshop, you can see that this is a really important information to know before you apply for Social Security, that you could be hurting your retirement if you make the wrong choice at the wrong time. And again, key points to remember is Social Security is inflation protected income. And then your monthly benefit will be reduced if you apply quote unquote early. And couples should always maximize each other's benefits. And mostly, if you went without a divorce, you should really look into it, because you're probably entitled to more benefits than you realize or you know. Which brings us to the conclusion that, again, if you this is too important just to leave to chance and to just ask the Social Security Administration and hope that they'll give you the right answer. It's important to sit down and look at your own personal financial situation and make sure that you have all the information that you need to make the right claiming decision. So again, because all of our financial lives are a puzzle, right? We have policies, insurance policies, annuities, we have 401ks and IRAs. At some point, the government requires you to start withdrawing your contributions and paying taxes. You have an investment portfolio, you're working. So all of this comes together in a picture that you really need to have a good control of and a good understanding of what's the most beneficial. And again, like Social Security, you can ask them questions, but they're not responsible for even giving you an accurate information. They can tell you what you're entitled to, but they don't know your personal situation. So they can really give you advice. They can give you some guidance and numbers, but not really advice. Co-investing can definitely help. As you can see, it's hard to look at this even after this workshop to know, okay, what exactly should I do? And I hope you have now enough information to ask the right questions. Again, Social Security is too important for guesswork. So let's work on this together. And I'm happy to sit down with you, look at what would be the best solution for you.